We're making up for lost time.
All right, gentlemen, heads up. Let's go through the list once again. Towels.
Check.
Change of clothes. Check it. Hi, folks. This is Yesterday Today, bringing you the best of yesterday's radio today. Phone chargers.
Check.
Spare food and water bottles. Check. I'm Jake Westbrook. This is McLean Westbrook, and our friend Sydney over here is running us through a little, supply check. Toothbrush.
Hold on.
Toothbrush?
I'm not seeing it in here.
That's because I have it right here. You gotta keep that track of these things. You should have noticed it was missing already.
Oh, right.
Well, fellas, looks like that's about everything. Looks like I've done it. For perhaps the first time in my life, I am completely prepared. There will be no surprises when my beloved wife goes into labor with our child. I will simply help her to the car, grab our packed bags, and proceed calmly to the hospital. Well, I have to admit, Sydney, you're a lot more calm and collected than I thought you would be, this close to the baby coming.
Yeah, no offense, but we sort of expected you to spend the last couple of weeks spazzing out, so this is certainly an improvement.
Yeah, I don't blame you guys. I've always been something of a clumsy Clyde, but the birth of mine and Maisie's child is, very important. You know, it's something far too important to leave up to mere chance. By failing to prepare, you prepare to fail. That's what I always say. I have a completely thought-out plan that will account for my own clumsiness.
Well, you're showing a lot of forethought.
Yes, sir. By having everything all ready to go, there's no reason for me to panic when the moment finally comes. I'll be ready for it. And in doing so, I will set a proper example as the leader of my little family on how to approach even the most stressful of situations with a cool head and a calm demeanor. You two are looking at a brand new Sydney Snorthoff.
Certainly is a change of pace from the Sydney Snorthoff that accidentally set the break room coffee machine on fire last week.
Exactly. That was a different Sydney Snorthoff from a different time.
Well, speaking of time, it's time we get the show started. While we are on the subject of parenthood over here, it is Mother's Day weekend, and we're going to pay tribute to dear old Mom with a few episodes of Old Time Radio. First up, we have our Miss Brooks.
It bemuses me to think of the younger, more naive and childish Sidheimer von Snorthoff. What a foolish young man.
Well, most students won't have their final exams for several weeks yet, but our Miss Brooks, who teaches English at Madison High School, has had to undergo quite a few impromptu tests recently.
Yes, our beloved principal, Mr. Conklin, has taken to conducting a series of sudden little quiz shows without prizes to see if the faculty is on its toes. Fortunately, when Mr. Conklin came into my classroom last Friday morning, he found me very much on my toes, due to a habit formed in my childhood of sitting with my feet curled beneath me. Although it was my free period, I sprang to attention when Mr. Conklin entered.
At ease? Miss Brooks, conjugate the word strive, please.
Strive, strove, striven.
Now, thrive.
Thrive, throve, thriven. No. Oh, really, Mr. Conklin? These sudden little tests are quite disconcerting.
Silence, Miss Brooks. We're not finished.
Yes, sir. More verbs?
Five.
Five, fiven. Now, wait a minute, Mr. Conklin. Five isn't a verb.
Thank you, Miss Brooks. I knew my visit to your room would produce some valuable bit of information. My main reason for dropping in, however, was to ask you to do me a favor, Miss Brooks. As you know, Sunday is Mother's Day.
Yes, I know, Mr. Conklin. Thanks to a special savings plan I started in February, I was able to send my mother a card this morning. But what did you want me to do for you?
I'd like you to take this package home with you and keep it until Sunday morning. It's a little Mother's Day remembrance for Mrs. Conklin. I don't want her to stumble upon it before time. Wonderful woman, Mrs. Conklin, and she's trained our daughter Harriet to be a duplicate of herself.
Really?
Yes. Between them, they're the two biggest snoopers in the county.
That makes it unanimous. I'll be happy to keep the package for you, Mr. Conklin.
Thank you, Miss Brooks. I hope my daughter Harriet remembers Mother's Day. Lately, she's had her mind on nothing but that moon-eyed, calf-brained Walter Denton.
Oh, Walter isn't so bad, Mr. Conklin. Of course, he's not a brilliant student.
Brilliant. Walter Denton is Madison's gift to subnormality. The thing that annoys me most is the way he bounces. He never goes anywhere. He always bounces there.
Hi, Miss Brooks. I just thought I'd bounce in for a minute.
Well, if it isn't the human handball.
Oh, hello, Mr. Conklin. Oh, if I'm interrupting anything, I'll just bounce along until
No, Walter. Mr. Conklin was about to dribble back to his office. You were finished with me, weren't you, Mr. Conklin?
Quite. Good morning, Miss Brooks.
Goodbye, Mr. Conklin.
Hasta la vista, Mr. Conklin. I learned that in Spanish. It means see you later.
Oh. Well, no si lo veo a usted primero.
What does that mean, Miss Brooks?
That means not if I see you first. Now, what can I do for you, Walter?
Well, I need some advice, Miss Brooks. It's about a Mother's Day gift, but a very special type of mother, Miss Brooks. That is, well, I know it's impossible right now, but just for supposition's sake, suppose you woke up one day and found yourself a mother.
I have a mother. Of course, she's miles away.
No, no, I don't mean it that way, Miss Brooks. I mean, if you awoke to find that you were a mother, what would your first question be?
What did it weigh, Doc?
Are you sure, Miss Brooks? Are you quite certain you wouldn't say, "How is my husband"?
Not me. I might say, who is my husband?
Miss Brooks, I'm serious. My dad told me that was my mother's first concern after she knew I was all right. You know, she thinks of us constantly and never of herself. But me, what do I do in return? I don't get out of bed when she wakes me. I'm always late for my meals. I never help her with the dishes, and I leave my clothes all over the house. Well, Sunday is Mother's Day, Miss Brooks, and I've got to make it up to her.
Well, that's pretty short notice, Walter, but I have a suggestion for you.
You have?
Yes. Sunday morning, wait till your mother starts to make breakfast. When you're sure she's in the kitchen, close the door quietly behind her.
Then?
Then gather up all the clothes that you've scattered around the house.
Then?
Then put them in a big suitcase.
Then?
Run away from home. I'm just teasing you, Walter. There's only one way you can make your mother happy, and that's by turning over a new leaf.
Well, I'll try, Miss Brooks, but meanwhile, just supposing again, well, what kind of a present would you like if you were a mother?
Oh, I wouldn't care much about presents, Walter. I'd just be happy if I had all my beloved children around me.
Gee. Well, of course, my mother only has this one beloved child. Me. But it's a lovely sentiment. However, I'd still like to figure out a little gift of some sort. Oh, what would make a young mother like yourself happy?
A young father like Mr. Boynton. Which reminds me, Walter, it's time for me to get down to his laboratory and pick him up for lunch.
Oh, did he invite you for lunch today?
Of course he did, about 10 minutes from now.
Now, tell me, Walter, were you able to find out what kind of a gift Miss Brooks would like?
I couldn't find out a thing, Harriet.
But we've got to get her something. What's the good of naming Miss Brooks our mother away from mother if we can't surprise her with something she wants? Now, let me see. We'll organize a committee, pick out a gift, and give it to Miss Brooks.
Great, Harriet. Then tonight will officially become Mother Away from Mother's Day night.
Well, I certainly enjoyed that lunch. Our cafeteria cook seems to be getting better.
He should be getting better. He eats his meals across the street.
I meant the food's improving. Now that we've finished lunch, Miss Brooks, I have a surprise for you.
Surprise? What is it, Mr. Boynton?
Guess.
One of your guinea pigs died and left you $1 million.
No.
Then I give up.
Well, Miss Brooks, I want you to meet my folks.
Why, Mr. Boynton, you've only known me for 5 years. This is so
I just found out they were coming to town myself. You see, they usually spend Mother's Day with my married brother, but Mom decided that this year it's my turn.
To do what? Oh. You mean your turn to spend Mother's Day together?
Oh, that's right. Oh, you'll love my mother, Miss Brooks. She used to be a school teacher, too, you know. As a matter of fact, she worked herself up until she was a principal.
You got to get pretty worked up to be a principal. Oh, I'm sure we'll get along splendidly.
And you'll be crazy about my dad. Oh, what a sense of humor he's got. You know, he's the one who told me the joke about the quizmaster who called out, "I've got a lady, doctor," but before he could ask her any questions, she stuck a thermometer in his mouth and took his pulse. Isn't that a scream?
Your father sounds like more fun than a barrel of depressed monkeys. May I ask you a rather personal question about your folks, Mr. Boynton?
Oh, certainly, Miss Brooks. What is it?
How long did they go around together before they were married?
9 years.
I see. Folks believed in long engagements in those days, I guess.
Oh, they weren't engaged until 6 weeks before the wedding.
6 weeks?
Mm-hmm. Once Dad makes up his mind about something, he's greased lightning.
Could have used a little greasing the first 8 years. I'll certainly be looking forward to seeing them, Mr. Boynton. When are they arriving in town?
Well, this afternoon, Miss Brooks. I'll have to check them into a hotel for the weekend. I've just got a small bachelor apartment.
Yes, I know. You've told me about it. Maybe your folks would like to drop over to Mrs. Davis's tonight. I'm sure my landlady wouldn't mind my dusting the living room a little.
Well, that's just fine with me, Miss Brooks. That'll give the folks a chance to rest up from their trip and have some dinner before they meet the girl about whom they've heard so much.
Why, Mr. Boynton, you mean you actually wrote to your folks about me?
Oh, and how, Miss Brooks? I've written them many times about how gay and youthful and exuberant you are.
I am? I mean, you have?
You're darn right. I remember in one of my most recent letters to them, I said you were more like a pupil than a teacher. In fact, I think that was a letter in which I described you as a great big overgrown kid.
Maybe I better take something.
You should have seen the answer I got from Dad. He said, "Whatever you do, son, don't rob the cradle."
Leave it to Dad.
Oh, he was jesting. Of course, he loves youngsters.
Mr. Boynton, you've given me an idea.
What kind of an idea, Miss Brooks?
If your father turns me down when I ask him for your hand, maybe he'll adopt me. Well, I hurried home right after school and put Mr. Conklin's gift to his wife on my dresser. Then I started to make myself and the house as presentable as possible for Mr. Boynton's parents. First of all, I took a shower and set my hair in pin curls. Then I put on an old, oversized house dress which I had borrowed from Mrs. Davis. This intriguing combination achieved the happy effect of making me look like a rat drowning in a Quonset hut. Then I went into the living room to get things in order. When I got there, Mrs. Davis had just finished vacuuming.
Oh, Connie, will you pull the plug out for me? My back's been bothering me lately.
Certainly, Mrs. Davis. There. Say, this vacuum cleaner's pretty old, isn't it?
Yes, indeed. But it's held up remarkably well. I bought it in 1932.
1932?
Yes. This Hoover came in when the other one went out.
Well, just so the place looks nice and neat for tonight. You know, I've never met Mr. Boynton's parents before.
I know you haven't, Connie, and first impressions are so important. That's why I sent our sofa and all the chairs out to be recovered.
What?
Every chair in the house is at the upholsterer's, Connie. But don't worry. Stretch Snodgrass took them down for me, and he promised to bring them back by 6 o'clock.
Stretch Snodgrass? Look, Mrs. Davis, Stretch may be a fine athlete, but when it comes to mentality, he's strictly a third strike. Why, he's liable to forget where he took the chairs.
Oh, I don't think so, Connie. You know how absent-minded I am, and even I couldn't forget the name of this upholsterer.
Why not?
Because he has a very odd name.
What is it?
What is what?
The name.
Whose name?
The upholsterer.
Upholsterer?
Yes. Look, Mrs. Davis, the sofa and all our chairs are being recovered today.
Well, they can certainly use it. did you send them, Connie?
Fellow with a very odd name. I never can remember it.
Well, I'm sure it will come back to you later. Now, if you'll excuse me, I've got to go out and back and look for our cat.
Minerva? Is she missing again?
Mm-hmm. She had a date this morning.
A date?
Yes, I heard her making it last night. But she should be back by now. She knows how I worry about her. Well, you let me know if she comes in the front way, Connie, and I'll take a look back here.
All right, Mrs. Davis. That's funny. Minerva never bothered to ring before. Coming!
How do you do, my dear?
How do you do?
I'm Philip's mother.
Philip?
Yes, Philip Boynton. I'm Mrs. Boynton.
Oh, but that's impossible. You won't be here until tonight. I mean, come in, Mrs. Boynton.
Well, you don't have to tell me who you are, my dear. Philip has written so much about you.
He has?
Yes, he says Miss Brooks wouldn't know what to do without you, Mrs. Davis.
Well, I try my best to please... Mrs. Davis?
Did you call, Connie?
That's Mrs. Davis, Mrs. Boynton. I'm Miss Brooks, such as I am. We've got company, Mrs. Davis.
Oh, she came in the front way, did she?
Yes, she's right here in the living room.
Well, you tell her she's a wicked cat. And...
Yes, Mrs. Davis. You're a wicked cat and get under the... No! Oh, you'll have to forgive me, Mrs. Boynton. I didn't expect you until after dinner, and
That's
I'm a little
perfectly all
upset
right,
about
Miss
that.
Brooks. As a matter of fact, I owe you an apology for not recognizing you. But it was rather dim in here, and I...
Not dim enough. Where's Mr. Boynton? Or should I say, where are Mr. Boyntons? Or Misters Boynton? Where is everybody?
Trouble parking the car.
Oh.
I wanted to meet you first myself anyway. Philip's written so much about you. You must see an awful lot of each other.
Well, we do teach at the same school. I understand you were a teacher at one time, Mrs. Boynton.
Oh, yes, indeed, for many years.
It's remarkable. You still look so well fed.
May we come in?
Oh, it's the boys. Hello, Philip, my dear.
Oh, hello, Mom. Well, I see you two have met.
Oh, yes, indeed. We're old friends by now.
Well, here she is, Dad.
How do you do, my dear? I hear you've been just like a mother to Miss Brooks, Mrs. Davis.
This house dress has got to go.
This isn't Mrs. Davis, Harvey. This is Miss Brooks.
What? Oh, well, you know what I always say, a bad beginning makes a good finish. Not that I'm finished, we happen to be of English extraction. And say, speaking of extraction, I visited my dentist last week, and he told me 2 of my teeth had to come out. So I said, what are you going to charge me for pulling those 2 teeth, Doc? $10, he says. Oh, says I, then what'll you charge just to loosen them a little?
See, I told you. Oh, what a sense of humor.
No, it's nothing.
He's hot stuff, all right.
Oh, he sure is. But why are we all standing out here in the hall?
Yes, let's all go and stand in the living room. Just follow me. Well, here we are. Now then, Mrs. Boynton, if you'll just come over to this lamp. This is a very comfortable place to stand. And Mr. Boynton, you can stand over there by the piano.
I don't understand, Miss Brooks. Where are all the chairs?
They're out being recovered. I didn't expect you for hours yet, Mr. Boynton. This is a terrible thing to do to anybody.
Well, I'm sorry, Miss Brooks, but it couldn't be helped. You see, there's a convention in town, and I couldn't get the folks accommodations anywhere. You know how big my room is, and, well, I wondered if you and Mrs. Davis could put the folks up for the weekend.
Why, Phillips, I'm surprised at you. You know better than to whisper in front of others.
Oh, I'm sorry, Mother. I was just explaining our predicament to Miss Brooks. She was saying how delighted she'd be to have you stay for a couple of days.
Well, now, that's what I call whopping hospitality.
It's a whopper, all right.
Give me a hand with the garbage, Connie. Oh, I beg your pardon.
This is Mr. and Mrs. Boynton. And this, contrary to popular opinion, is Mrs. Davis.
How do you do?
Good afternoon, Mrs. D. Nice little place you've got here.
I've just invited the folks to spend the weekend with us, Mrs. Davis. If you don't mind my doubling up with you, I figured they could have my room.
Oh, that's perfectly all right. Oh, dear, the upholsterer. You folks must be tired after your trip. Why don't you go to bed?
Bed? Bed? But it's only 4:30 in the afternoon.
Oh, she was only kidding, Mrs. Boynton. Mrs. Davis, why don't you take the folks up to my room?
Well, I could do with a bit of freshening up at that.
Yeah, nonsense, Mother. You're as fresh as the day I got you.
Now, cut it out, Dad.
Yes, cut it out, Dad.
Well, Miss Brooks certainly has a comfortable room, Harvey.
Yes, indeed. That little catnap is just what the doctor ordered.
Tell the truth, Harvey. Don't you think Miss Brooks is setting her cap for Philip?
Oh, is that a cap? I thought that shroud she was wearing had a snoot on it.
Oh, be serious, Harvey. We both know he'll make a wonderful husband when he grows up.
When he grows up?
To me, he's still a baby. You know how innocent he is.
Yes, and sometimes I think it's all my own fault. Sometimes I think that by now I should have sat him down and had a man-to-man talk with him. Although my father didn't have a man-to-man talk with me until I was past 30. And at that, I married you anyway. Say, hey, what's this package on the dresser here? It says, for Mother. Must be for you.
Oh, well, now, wasn't that thoughtful of Miss Brooks? She got a Mother's Day gift for me when she heard I was coming. I'm going to open it right away.
Yeah, and Mother's Day isn't until Sunday.
Now, you know I'd never have the patience to wait. Oh, now, let's see. Why, what's this? A black silk negligee.
Well, happy Mother's Day!
This can't be for me.
Hey, look, this card fell out when you opened the package. It says, for baby from her goodie.
Well, I'm going to find out just where this came from. Oh, Miss Brooks.
Yes, Mrs. Boynton?
Would you come here a moment, please?
Certainly, Mrs. Boynton. What can I do for you?
Well, I opened a package by mistake and found this inside of it.
A black sheer negligee.
There was a card with it that said, for baby from Goody.
Goody? Oh, that must be short for Osgood. Why, of course, that was Mr. Conklin's gift.
Mr. Conklin? The principal of Madison High?
Yes, isn't he a devil? He asked me to keep it for him so his wife wouldn't discover it before Mother's Day.
Oh, it's for his wife.
Yes. Who did you think it was for? Don't answer that. I can tell from the position of your eyebrows.
My eyebrows?
Yes, Mrs. Boynton. You'd better drop them a notch. You're pushing back your hairnet.
Oh, this dinner certainly is delicious, Mrs. Davis.
Oh, well, thank you, Mr. Boynton. But Miss Brooks is the one who deserves the credit. She prepared it all.
Oh, come now, Mrs. Davis. You opened every bit as much as I did.
Eat it slowly, Philip.
Yes, Mother.
Remember, your stomach has no teeth.
Yeah, maybe that's just as well. If it got too hungry, you could chew off your suspender buttons.
He always gets me when I've got a mouthful.
You had a mouthful. Here's the napkin.
Philip, you're such a baby.
Well, you're right there, Mrs. Boynton. He's nothing but a great big overgrown kid.
Now, that's funny. That's the same phrase Philip used in describing you in one of his letters.
Well, she is, Mother. You ought to see her around the school. The students just treat her like one of themselves.
Yes, indeed. We kids have some great old times together.
I'll answer it, Connie. Excuse me, folks.
I wonder who that could be.
Well, come in, kids.
Hi, Mrs. Davis. We're a committee.
It's Walter and Harriet, Connie.
Oh, we didn't mean to disturb you, Miss Brooks.
Oh, that's all right, Walter. I was just telling the folks how informal we are at Madison. Mr. and Mrs. Boynton, may I present Harriet Conklin and Walter Denton?
Mr. Boynton, pleased to know you. And now, Miss Brooks, we would like to present something to you that expresses the devotion and reverence felt toward you by the entire student body.
Oh, what is it?
It's a shawl. A shawl and a handsome pair of knitting needles to go with the rocking chair to which you're so attached. Plus which, you have been chosen our mother away from mother.
Oh, no.
I'll go to the piano, Walter, and you sing the song we've written.
Okay, Harriet. Wait till you hear this, folks.
All set, Walter.
The B stands for the books she helps us study. The R is for she's righteous, also pure. The O is for the fact that she's our buddy. The second O is likewise, I am sure. The K is for okay, she rates a bow. The S is for her sadly wrinkled brow. She's motherly, just like Elsie the cow. Miss Brooks, we love you dearly.
Miss Brooks, that's me. I'll always be Miss Brooks. Well, several days later, Friday night came to an end. As I escorted Mr. Boynton to the front door, he was in a strangely mellow mood.
You know, Miss Brooks, I'm a man of many dreams, but more often than not, I find I'm shooting too high.
Shooting too high, Mr. Boynton?
Oh, yes, in trying to find the right girl, for instance. It seems that subconsciously I'm always looking for a girl who's just like my mother. Attractive, yet sweet and unselfish.
Well, don't give up the search, Mr. Boynton. Someday you're liable to find such a girl right under your nose. And I think that's a very nice location.
What I mean is, when you gave up your room for Mother, I suddenly realized you're not only attractive, but also sweet and unselfish. So, Miss Brooks, instead of just shaking hands like we usually do...
Yes, Mr. Boynton?
Well, I'd like to say goodnight to you the way I do to my mother, with a kiss.
A kiss, Mr. Boynton?
Yes, on the forehead.
There you go, shooting too high again.
Next week, tune into another Our Miss Brooks show brought to you by Luster Cream Shampoo. The soft, glamorous, caressable hair.
Welcome back to Yesterday Today. We're saluting dear old mother on the show as it is Mother's Day weekend. You just heard our Miss Brooks, and up next we have...
Hey guys, look! Look at me!
Sydney, what are you doing?
What does it look like? I'm juggling steak knives. Almost dropped that one.
What? You can't juggle? What are you doing?
Well, I used to not be able to juggle, but I realize now that this was just because my lack of confidence wouldn't let me. I used to be a sad, scared little man, but now that I find myself prepared for the future, I'm unlocking my full potential. Oh, look at that one.
Sydney, stop it. You could hurt yourself.
What are you kidding? Living a life of fear is what was hurting me. Here. There we go. Caught 'em all. Well, fellas, I've seen the other side. What it's like to be a calm, prepared, and steady man. I feel like a whole new person. You know, I'm even thinking of getting into venture capital. What is venture capital, by the way? Yeah, never mind. I'll figure it out.
Man, such a personality change over just having a baby.
No, I'm telling you, I've conquered what's been holding me back my entire life. Fear. Now that I know I can be prepared for any situation, I have no need for fear. I have nothing to fear but fear itself, and I don't even fear that. I don't need to panic. I approach life confidently now. Nothing can sway me.
Are you sure, Sydney? You've never been the confident type.
Well, that's what I'm trying to tell you. I am the confident type now. Hey, do you know if they've explored all of the Arctic Circle yet? I'm thinking of getting a group of guys together and we can go find a sea rat or something.
I'd stick on focusing on the forthcoming baby for now, Sydney.
Okie doke. I do like big wooden ships, though.
Yeah, that's fantastic. Next up on the show, folks, an episode of the Jack Benny program.
I've always wanted to harpoon a whale.
Oh, you've told us about that.
The Lucky Strike program starring Jack Benny with Barry Livingston, Phil Harris, Rochester, Dennis Day, and yours truly, Don Wilson. Ladies ladies and gentlemen, today is Mother's Day. And in honor of that occasion, we would like to bring you a man who has been more than a mother to us. And here he is, Jack Benny.
Thank you. Hello again. This is Jack Benny talking. And Don, that was a very nice introduction. But I think you were being just a little bit overly sentimental there.
Oh, no, Jack. I meant every word of it. And you truly have been like a mother to our little group of thespians.
Oh, Don.
Donzy's right, Jackson. You've really looked out for us all these years.
Oh, gee, Phil.
We all agree on this, Jack. Dennis, hasn't Mr. Benny been like a mother to us?
Yeah, me he even spanks.
Dennis, I only did that once and you deserved it. Imagine coming over to my house and throwing a dead cat in the living room.
You said you needed violin strings.
Never mind that. Now keep quiet.
Yes, Dennis, you shouldn't act like that. After all, Mr. Benny has protected us like a brood of little chicks and sheltered us under his wing.
Don, I couldn't shelter you if I had a wing like a B-29. Believe me.
Look, Jackson, we're trying to say something nice, and you and Dennis are lousing up the mood.
We are?
Yes, Jack. Maybe we've kidded you so often you don't realize how much you've helped us.
Oh, I realize I've been a great help to all of you. I know that when you came to me for sympathy, I gave it to you. And when you came to me for advice, I gave it to you. And when you came to me for money...
You gave us sympathy and advice.
Yes. I don't see any reason at all why I should give you extra money.
Who's talking about extra money? We want only what we got coming.
I can't understand you, kid. Just a little while ago, you said I was a mother hen and you were my brood of little chicks. Now, all of a sudden... Dennis, why are you staring at me?
It's the first time I ever saw a hen with glasses.
Now, cut that out and let's get on with the program. For goodness sake, you start something on this show and before you know it... Come in.
Hi, Rube.
Jack, isn't that the man who painted your house?
You ought to know. You brought him over. Look, Mr. Hawkins, I'm trying to do a radio program. What do you want?
I just dropped in to tell you that I saw your show the other night in Pasadena.
You did?
Yep, pretty good show. You ought to bring it out to Calabasas.
Calabasas?
It's a pretty big place. Right now, we got 422 people.
422 people?
There's a convention in town.
Well, who's there when there isn't a convention?
Me.
Just you?
When the sun ain't shining and there's no shadow, I'm a lonely boy.
Well, I'm sorry, Mr. Hawkins, but my itinerary is all set.
Well, okay. Just thought it would be nice to have some entertainment. So long, Rube.
So long. Yeah, I wonder why he always calls me Rube. All right, kids, let's get on with the show. Now, we've got a lot to do tonight.
Oh, before we start, Jack, that fellow who was just here reminded me of something.
What is it, Don?
I wanted to tell you that I also enjoyed your show in Pasadena.
Well, thanks. Thanks very much, Don.
Oh, it was great, Jack. And you certainly had a wonderful cast. You, Phil, Rochester, Vivian Blaine.
And don't forget Tabby.
Tabby? Who's Tabby?
The dead cat. He's Mr. Benny's A and G strings.
That's how much you know. The A string came off a total stranger. So don't be so smart.
Hey, Livy, how'd you like the way me and my orchestra stopped the show? Great, wasn't it?
You were very, very good, Phil, but there was one thing that puzzled me.
What was it, Liv?
Well, how come when the rest of the band was playing, that's what I like about the South, Frankie was playing Tiger Rag?
Well, Frankie's on strike. That's his way of picketing.
Oh, are the musicians on strike?
No, just Remley. He's mad at Jackson.
Why?
Oh, it's nothing. He's mad because I won't let him take his electric guitar on the tour. And I'm right, too. Whenever he has that thing on the stage, the whole band gathers around it.
Around his electric guitar? Why?
It makes ice cubes.
Yeah. And when he spins his guitar to be fancy, he's really mixing martinis, you know? Say, Phil, did you fix it up for Sammy the drummer to go on tour with us?
Yeah, I spoke to the board, and Sammy can leave the state provided he's in bed every night by 10.
And tell him to keep his shirt buttoned. Those numbers on his underwear look awful. And Phil, while I'm on the subject, it wouldn't hurt if some of your other musicians got to bed early, too. I'm sick and tired of you and your boys running around all night.
That's telling him, Mom.
Stop that, Dennis. Now, look, kid, it's time for your song. Now, what are you going to sing?
Well, I have something appropriate for Mother's Day.
Well, let's hear it.
Okay.
Hold it, Dennis. Come in. Yes?
Telegram for Jack Benny.
I'll take it, boy.
Hey,
Oh, just a minute. Here.
Gee, Mr. Benny, when you reached into your pocket, I expected a nickel or a dime, but I never expected this.
Well, what'd he give you?
Lint.
Get out of here.
Jack,
What?
who's the telegram from?
Just a minute. Oh, this is cute. It's from the boys of the Beverly Hills Beavers. Listen to this, Mary. Dear Mr. Benny, our treasurer and friend, we just had a meeting and decided to send this greeting to you that should fill you with glee. God bless you and keep you, Mother McCree. Gee, isn't that sweet?
Mr. Benny.
Dennis, sing your song. Mr. Benny's crying.
Yes, ma'am.
Sometimes in the hush of the evening hour, when shadows creep from the west, I think of the twilight songs you sang and the boy you loved to rest. The wee little boy with a tousled head that long, long ago was thine. I wonder if sometimes you long for that boy. Oh, little mother of mine. And now he has come to man's estate, grown stalwart in body and strong. You'd hardly know that he was the lad you lulled with your slumber song. The years have altered the form and the life, but the heart is unchanged by time. And still he is only your boy as of old. Oh, little mother of mine. Oh, little mother of
That was Dennis Day singing Little Mother of Mine. And very good, Dennis.
I always sing good on Mother's Day.
Dennis, you sing good every day.
What have you got against Mother's Day?
Nothing. I think Mother's Day is the finest day of the year.
It's about time. It's been cloudy all week.
Oh, go sit down. And now, ladies and gentlemen, for our special surprise of the evening, I'd like you to meet a young lady whom you've seen many times on the screen and will be appearing with us on our tour, Miss Vivian Blaine.
Thank you, Jack. I'm awfully glad that you invited me over today.
Well, Vivian, the reason I asked you to come over is because, well, you know that scene we do in our stage show. You know where you're supposed to run your hand through my hair when I'm kissing you?
Uh-huh.
Well, it was awfully embarrassing in Pasadena.
What happened, Vivian?
Well, instead of my hand going through his hair, it went under it.
Yes, your fingernails are so sharp.
Jack, why don't you let her do the kissing scene with Phil?
Mary, that's the way it was supposed to be. But after the first rehearsal, Vivian said she'd rather do the kissing scene with me. So, Mary, you don't have to look at her as though she has two heads.
Vivian, why don't you do the scene with Phil?
Well, every time we rehearsed it, it was the same thing. He'd slip his arms around me, snuggle up close, and whisper in my ear.
Gee, what'd he whisper?
Good health to all from Rexall.
Some romantic guy. I can show him a thing or two.
I'm sure you can, Jack. But when we do the love scene, I would like to make just one request.
Certainly, Vivian. What is it?
Well, I wish you'd just put your arms around me and let our lips meet in tender embrace.
Oh.
Don't grab me and pull yourself up by my earlobes.
I'll remember that. Now, Vivian, how about doing a song?
Don, shall we tell him?
Huh?
Well, Jack, we thought we'd give you a little surprise, so I got Vivian to cook up something with the Sportsman Quartet.
Say, that's wonderful. Let's have it.
Okay?
Oh, just a minute, Don. Come in. Oh, no. No. Come back some other time, Mr.
Savoni.
Look, Mr. Savoni, I'm trying to do a program. Look, what do you want to see me about?
Well, I need a little money. And I was wondering if you could help me out.
Now, wait a minute. I don't mind giving you a handout every once in a while, and I'll take you to a meal this time, too. But why? For heaven's sake, why don't you get yourself a job? Any kind of a job.
All I need is 10 cents so I could take a bus down to San Pedro. The man said for me to be on the bus by 6 o'clock.
To be on the bus or on the boat?
On the boat by 6 o'clock.
Well, that's different. You got yourself a job on a boat, eh?
No. I went on a quiz program and won 2 glorious weeks in Honolulu.
You won 2 glorious on a quiz program?
Mm-hmm.
I just can't believe it.
Well, I'll tell you how it happened anyway. I was walking down the street. I wasn't doing anything. Just walking down the street. I didn't feel like doing anything. So I just walked down the street and wasn't doing anything. While I was passing a radio station, a fellow in the uniform said, "Hey, you." I said, "Who?" He said, "You." I said, "Me?" He said, "Yeah." Would you like to be on the quiz program? And while I was asking him if he could spare a dime for a cup of coffee, he takes me inside the studio, writes my name on a card, and sits me down. Ooh, so nervous. Well, I'm just sitting there. And I ain't doing anything. Just sitting there. All of a sudden, the master of ceremony says, our next contestant is Mr. Jornal Cicavoni. I said, Jornal Cicavoni, holy smoke, that's me.
I can't look at him. I can't get over your winning 2 weeks in Honolulu. What was the question?
Well, he looked at me and said, John, in geographical terminology, what is the parallel of the biological aspect of the vernal equinox?
And you answered that question?
What a lucky guess!
Well, Mr. Savoni, here's the dime, and give my regards to Hilo Hattie.
Thanks, pal. Bye.
All right, Don. All right, Don. Let's hear what Vivian and the boys have cooked up.
I don't care if the sun don't shine. I get my lovin' in the evening time when I'm with my baby.
You'll never miss just one little kiss.
It's no fun with the sun around, but I get going when the sun goes down and I meet my baby. That's when we kiss and kiss and kiss, and then we kiss some more. Don't ask how many times we kiss at a time like this. Who keeps score? I don't care if the sun don't shine. I'll get my lovin' in the evening time when
That's when I'll be with my baby. We don't care if the sun don't shine, morning, noon, or in the evening time, 'cause we all smoke Luckies. We don't care about the time of day, or if any should reduce our pay, 'cause we all smoke Luckies.
That's when you puff and puff and puff, and then you puff some more.
Don't ask how many times we puff, 'cause there's no rough puff and who keeps score. We don't care if the sun don't shine, morning, noon, or in the evening time, 'cause we're smoking Luckies. Good old Luckies, it's L-S-M-F-G.
Vivian, that was wonderful, really swell.
Oh, thanks a lot, Jack. I've got to run along now and do some packing. I'll see you at the airport tomorrow.
Okay, don't forget we're taking the TWA Constellation on our whole trip.
I'll be there. Goodbye.
Goodbye. Don, that was really a great idea you had for a commercial.
Well, thanks, Jack.
And now, kid.
Wait a minute, Jack.
Huh?
I've been thinking about that fella Savoni.
What about him?
Well, he always comes to you to help him out. Why don't you give him a job?
Well, I'd like to, Mary, but I don't need any extra help.
But, Jack, you could use him around the house as a caretaker.
Well, I've got Rochester for that.
Well, maybe you could use him as a gardener.
I've got Rochester for that, too.
Well, maybe you could use him as a night watchman.
He's got me for that.
Dennis.
I sit up on the roof with a machine gun.
Now, look, Dennis.
Get away from that lemonade stand.
Dennis, stop that! Anyway, Mary, why are you so anxious to get a job for Silvoni?
Well, Jack, of all the men I've ever seen, he's the only one that would be a perfect match for my sister, Babe.
Your sister, Babe? What makes you think that they're a perfect match? I mean, what has Babe got in common with Savoni?
Well, Babe just hangs around the house. She don't do anything. She just hangs around the house. I mean, she don't feel like doing anything. She just hangs around the house. She don't feel like doing anything.
All right, you can stop with that, too. Now, kids, I got a lot of packing to do, so let's get on with... Dennis, where are you going?
To answer the door.
Nobody knocked.
No, but with this kind of a show, anything can happen.
What? How did he know? Come in.
Hello, Mr. Benny.
Well, Mr. Kitson.
Oh, Mr. Benny, please excuse me for interrupting the proceedings, but I had to see you before you go out personally appearing.
Well, I'm glad you did.
I understand that when you finish your tour, you're getting on a boat and sailing for merry old England. So I brought you a gift.
A gift?
Yes, I knew you were going, so I baked a cake.
Well, thank you.
Oh, you're welcome, Mr. Benny. Oh, what I wouldn't give to go on a boat trip again.
Oh, then you have made a crossing. Huh?
3 times.
Oh, Atlantic or Pacific?
Westlake Park.
Oh.
But seriously, I would like to go to England because that's a wonderful place to pick up antiques.
Well, that's right, but Mr. Kitzel, I didn't know you were a collector of antiques.
Collector, in my house, I got the original tent that George Washington used at Valley Forge.
The original tent?
Yeah.
Where did you get it?
War surplus.
Mr. Kitzel, you're joking.
Yeah. My...
Well, Mr. Kitzel, I'm awfully glad you dropped in. While I'm in England, if I see an interesting antique, I'll bring it back to you.
Bless you, heart. And Mr. Benny, I nearly forgot something. Here, I brought you another gift.
Another gift?
A book to read it on the boat. Here.
Well, isn't that nice? That's Jimmy Starr's new book, Heads You Lose. Thank you, Mr. Kitzel.
I wrote something on the inside. Let me read it.
Oh, isn't that sweet? Go ahead.
To Mr. Benny, that old friend of mine, may you always be healthy and 39.
Thank you, Mr. Kitzel.
You're welcome, and good luck on your trip.
Thank you. Goodbye.
Goodbye.
Gee, I wish Mr. Kitzel was going on the tour with us. Say, Mary, can you drive me to the airport tomorrow?
Yes, I guess I can, but why doesn't Rochester do it?
Well, I sent Rochester on ahead to Kansas City. He's taking care of some advanced things for me.
Well, I thought your press agent, Steve Bradley, took care of those things.
No, I sent him to Milwaukee. In fact, I heard from him this morning. What a crazy publicity stunt he has cooked up now. He's nuts.
Why, what does he want you to do?
He wants me to be rolled into Milwaukee in a barrel of beer.
No.
Yeah. Then on the City Hall steps, they open the barrel, I jump out, and the mayor blows the foam off my head. I'm not going to do a silly thing like that.
Say, Mr. Benny.
Yes?
Answer the phone.
What? That kid is uncanny. Hello?
I have a long-distance call from Kansas City for Mr. Jack Benny.
Kansas City?
The charges are reversed. Will you accept the call?
Yes.
Do you want me to tell you when the 3 minutes are up?
No.
Look, jerk, get off the phone and put Jack Benny on.
I am jerk. Jack Benny. Now give me the call.
Okay, don't get your Irish up.
Me?
Here's your party.
Thanks. Hello?
Hello, Mr. Benny. This is Rochester.
Hello, Rochester. So you finally got to Kansas City, eh? How was the flight?
Fine, boss, fine. And believe me, everybody in Kansas City knows you're coming.
Good.
Yes, sir. Your name is on almost every billboard in town.
Almost.
It would have been on every one of them, but I ran out of chalk.
I told you to take 2 pieces.
I did.
Oh.
And, boss, I got a surprise for you.
A surprise?
Yeah, when you arrive in town, you'll be met by the mayor of Kansas City, the governor of Missouri, and all the important committees.
The governor and the mayor? How did you manage to do that?
I can't tell you on the phone, but if anybody calls you Harry, mumble something about Congress and keep moving.
Harry, gee, Rochester, you think I can get away with it?
I'm not worried about you, but I told him that Mr. Harris was the Secretary of State.
Secretary of State?
I hope they'll go for a curly-headed Atchison.
I knew you'd go too far. Now, look, Rochester, you stop at Wichita like I told you to.
Yes, boss. The Kansas Medical Society is holding a convention there, and 2,000 doctors will be over to see your show.
2,000 doctors in the audience?
Yeah, and you better be good. One of them has a long hypodermic needle.
I'll watch it. But, Rochester, there's only one thing that worries me. This business of being met by the governor and the mayor and me being called Harry. Do you think I can get away with it?
Pardon me.
Huh?
Your 3 minutes are up, Mr. President.
Oh, thank you. Goodbye, Rochester.
Goodbye.
Come on, Mary, I'll drive you home. Ladies and gentlemen...
Hi, folks. You've been listening to our Mother's Day episode of Yesterday Today on the show.
Sydney, I'm not letting you shoot an apple off my head with an arrow.
Oh, come on. I've been practicing archery for like a couple minutes now. I got the hang of it. Don't worry.
Look, I don't care how confident you are now. It's not happening.
Yeah, I'm telling you. It'll be fine.
Yeah, if you're just joining us, our friend Sid here has become so prepared for the imminent arrival of his firstborn child that all of his everyday fears and worries have melted away and apparently created a much more confident Mr. Snorthoff.
Yeah, I've just realized that living in fear is no way for a man to exist. I've taken back control of my life, my very psyche. I have no fear, no worry, no panic. Oh, a phone call. I suppose I'll answer that. Hello? Oh, it's Maisie. Okay. Alrighty. I will be there in just a second, dear. Don't you worry your pretty little face.
Well, what did she say?
Oh, she's going into labor, so I gotta go drive her to the hospital.
Sydney, are you serious?
Yep, baby's on its way.
Well, don't just stand there.
All right. It's happening! It's actually happening! Oh my goodness! What do I do?
The duffel bags, Sydney. Grab the duffel bags.
Right, the duffel bag. Oh, they're too heavy. My frail, quivering noodle arms can't lift them.
Here, Jake and I will get them. You go start the car.
Good idea. Where are my keys?
They're right there on the counter, Sydney. Come on.
Right. Keys. All right, I got them. I'll be in the car. Where's the car? The car's outside. I'm coming, Maisie.
Sydney, wait,
I'm coming.
The door isn't open.
He ran right into it. Sydney, are you okay? Sydney, speak to me.
He's out cold.
Go get Mondo. He can carry Sydney out to the car.
Okay.
Come on. Thanks for listening, folks. We'll see you next week.